Hello and welcome to the Biohack Her podcast. I'm Azra Alagic, your host and founder of Biohack Her. I'm an integrative nutrition health coach specializing in longevity for women, a health and wellness journalist, writer, corporate consultant, and a biohacking advocate. Biohack Her is a space where we can explore ways to optimize our health to live well longer. Whether it's through improving our nutrition, exercising, cryotherapy, supplementation, technology, and more, I'll be bringing you information and interviews with the best longevity experts to help you understand what you can do to optimize your health, prevent disease, and slow down or even reverse the symptoms of aging by taking control of your unique bio-individuality. Want to know more? Let's dive in. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Biohack Her podcast. As some of you might know, I'm not only a podcast host, but also an integrative nutritional health coach. As part of my mission to help women live well longer, I'm excited to share that I have launched my first Biohack Her product, my Good Gut Granola. I created this recipe after navigating my own gut health issues and struggled to find healthy breakfast options that didn't taste like cardboard. My cranberry and walnut granola is gluten-free and vegan, and each ingredient has been specifically chosen because of its science-backed ability to support longevity. And I haven't compromised on taste to achieve a healthy granola. But I apologize in advance because once you start eating, you will become addicted. It's that Moorish. It's now available for my Australian listeners, and you can purchase it online from www.biohack-her.com, where you can also download a free copy of my ebook, Biohack Her, Live Well Longer, a beginner's guide to biohacking for women to optimize your health. Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. What if the way you light your home or stare at your screens could be silently sabotaging your sleep, your hormones, and even your longevity? Well, in today's episode of the Biohack Her podcast, I'm joined by Andy Mant, founder of Bon Charge, the company leading the charge, pun intended, when it comes to cutting-edge wellness tech like blue light blocking glasses, red light therapy, EMF protection, and sleep-enhancing wearables. Andy's not just a biohacker. He's a pioneer on a mission to help people take back control of their health in a world that's constantly lit up, plugged in, and overstimulated. We dive into the science behind blue light exposure, the role light plays in circadian rhythm disruption, and how modern tech is impacting your sleep, health, and aging. We also talk practical, like what time you should block blue light, how red light therapy boosts mitochondrial function, and which tools are actually worth your time. So whether you're battling 2 a.m. wake-ups, feeling foggy during the day, or just curious on how to upgrade your home environment for health and longevity, this conversation will blow your mind and possibly dim your lights. Let's dive in. Hey, Andy, welcome to the Biohack Her podcast. Great to have you on.
Yeah, I've been really excited for this one. Thank you so much for inviting me. I can't wait to talk about light to your amazing community.
Fantastic. Let's dive straight in. For listeners who aren't really aware about what red light therapy is or are new to it, can you give us a bit of a rundown about what it is and explain what red and near-infrared light therapy is and how it interacts with the body at the cellular level?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a big one to get into. I love it. Light is really interesting, right? So that all different frequencies of light have a profound effect on human biology. So, for instance, like blue light's great during the day, keeps you alert and awake. That's fantastic. Not so good at night because it keeps you alert and awake. So the different types of light have different factors to play in the body. And red light is no different to the other frequencies in so much that it has such profound impacts on the body. So when I'm talking about red light, I mean bioactive frequencies of light between 600 and 700 nanometers. So light's measured in nanometers. So there's blues like 400 to 500, greens 5 to 600, and then red goes 600, 700, and so on. It goes up all the way up to in the thousands. Now, there's very different frequencies of light within the red spectrum as well. So it's not saying like red light therapy is just any kind of red light. That would be very silly to say because it isn't the case. Within that banding of light, there's very specific frequencies within the red banding that seem to have more of an effect on our health and biology. And those typically fall between 630 nanometers and 660 nanometers. So when you hear me refer to red light, then that is the frequencies that we refer to. Now, near infrared light is a invisible frequency of light. So you can't see it with the naked eye. It's invisible. You've got to trust that it's there. It's given out by the sun in a natural setting, but it's also in red light therapy devices. Now, near infrared light runs from 800 to about 1,000 nanometers. And again, like red light, within this banding, there's very specific frequencies that seem to have a better effect on our cells and our health. And that typically falls between 830 and 880 nanometers. Now, the reason those frequencies of light are very, very special are because they've been studied along with the other frequencies of light, and they've been shown to have an impact on mitochondria. So at that 630, 660 visible red light, and let's say 850, which seems to be the most studied and most profound for near infrared light. Now, those frequencies of light penetrate the body. So you have like a device that's like, we've all seen them, these red light panels or these red light face masks, and you shine it onto your body, and red light penetrates maybe about 4 millimeters into the body, which is kind of that skin, that dermis level. So when we're using red light, that improves skin texture, skin tone, reduces the signs of aging, fine lines, wrinkles. And I'll explain how it works in a bit as well. But then you've got the near infrared light, and that penetrates 5 to 7 millimeters deep into the body, which starts to target the muscles and the joints. So when you're using near infrared light, you're targeting muscles and joints for recovery or pain, for instance. Now, when you look at those frequencies of light, they've also got to be a certain strength, a certain power. So you can't just go up to a red light bulb or a torch that gives out red light and say you're getting red light therapy. That doesn't work like that. It has to be of a specific irradiance is what it's called. So it's like a power density, and it's measured in milliwatts per centimeter squared. And for the red light, it has to be over about 35 milliwatts per centimeter squared of power, the density, how tightly packed it is. And for the muscles and joints, it should be over 100 milliwatts per centimeter squared. If it's less than that, you're just going to have to be in front of the device for a long, long period of time, which no one has time to do. And also the efficacy in the studies has always been at those medical grade frequencies. Now, the way it works at a really basic level, because it's very complicated how it works at a cellular level. It's all about electron chain transport and energy production at a cellular level. So our bodies have cells, and within our cells, we have something called mitochondria. And the mitochondria are like the batteries of the cell. So they power the energy that then powers our bodies and powers our thoughts and our metabolic processes. And that happens along electron chain transport, and it produces energy, which is called adenosine triphosphate, which is ATP. Now, what happens is when we're existing, we have inflammation in our body. Even if we are the most healthy individuals in the world and we biohack and we live in the middle of a field, no Bluetooth or Wi-Fi around us, we amazing foods, we still got some level of inflammation in the body. And it goes all the way up on the spectrum to someone that lives in an apartment in the middle of New York or Sydney that's probably got quite chronic inflammation because of all the Wi-Fi pollution, probably not the best food, there's lots of artificial light. Now, what happens is when we get inflamed, the energy production system increases its level of nitric oxide. And what that does is that's our body's mechanism for trying to reduce inflammation, which is a good thing. That's what you want to do. Otherwise, we'll get sick very quickly. So what happens is there's something at the fourth phase of energy production that's called cytochrome C oxidase. And that needs oxygen to produce energy efficiently. When nitric oxide is present in that pathway through inflammation, it takes away a lot of the oxygen to try and have the reaction to reduce inflammation. But what happens is when you shine these frequencies of light that I've just spoken about, so your visible red at 630, 660, your invisible near infrared at 850 nanometers, that seems to free up the oxygen by reacting with the nitric oxide. So there's more oxygen for cytochrome C oxidase to react with, making our energy production system more efficient. Now, when a cell is more efficient, it can start doing what the cell is supposed to do. So if I give you an example of a cell, fibroblasts, they're in the skin, and they are the cell that then goes on to form collagen. So if you start improving the energy efficiency in the fibroblasts, more collagen production can happen. And we all know what happens when we have more collagen. You get reduced the fine lines and wrinkles, you reduce the signs of aging. Another example is in joints. We have cells there called osteoblasts. And these cells are the precursor to make bone. Now, when the energy in those cells is optimized, then they can do what they need to do better, which is make fresh, new joint and bone within the body, which can help repair and heal a lot faster than if it was to do it naturally. So it all comes down to energy efficiency, red light therapy. And it seems to interact with the mitochondria in a way to really optimize that energy production system and allow cells within the body to do what they're supposed to do and more optimally.
And you touched on how it tackles inflammation. And I mean, we can get inflammation in so many different ways, and there are different therapies and technologies out there to tackle inflammation. How does red light therapy compare to something like hyperbaric oxygen chamber therapy in terms of treating inflammation? Is it better, or is it?
Yeah, it's not a case of it being better. It's just different pathways to treat things. So there's 3 ways in the holistic world that I like to talk about that can help with inflammation. Red light therapy is one of those. And the other one is hyperbaric oxygen. You're right, that is unbelievable and been showing some incredible science behind that. I remember I'm a football fan, and I remember when Wayne Rooney broke his toe for the World Cup, and they said, you're not going to make it. It's 4 weeks away. It's like 8 weeks to heal this type of injury. And he used hyperbaric oxygen chamber and was ready for the World Cup in 4 weeks. And he played and he did well. So, there's even like anecdotal things like that have come out. That's amazing. And the other one is PEMF. So pulsed electromagnetic field energy is also fantastic for inflammation and healing. Now, all 3 of them do it through different pathways. Like red light therapy is obviously electromagnetic spectrum, as is the pulsed electromagnetic field therapy. Hyperbaric oxygen is more putting more oxygen in the body to then increase that ATP pathway. So I was speaking a little bit earlier about cytochrome C oxidase needing oxygen to be able to produce energy more efficiently. Hyperbaric oxygen does that because it puts more oxygen, more pure oxygen into that energy production system. So it can allow nitric oxide and the inflammation to do what it needs to do, but also more energy can be produced in the system, which then helps with the reduction of inflammation. And it all does it through, not just improving the energy production system, but also eradicating cytokines. So cytokines are inflammatory markers and proteins within the body that actually signal that you've got inflammation. And when you start doing these types of therapies, it starts to reduce the number of those, starts to reduce the number of reactive oxygen species within the body, and then starts to put the body into this homeostasis position where the inflammation, the cytokines are dropping, the reactive oxygen species are dropping, and we're turning to that baseline level, which is being hormonally and healthy and less inflamed.
Yeah, it's fascinating how it works. Now, you touched earlier about how it can improve collagen production, prevent photoaging, and so on. Can you do a bit of a deeper dive into that? Because I'm sure there's a lot of my listeners out there that have seen these red light masks out there and are wondering, do they actually really work? And what does the research actually show? What's the science-backed evidence there that shows that it works? And is one red light mask better than another? Because I'm sure many ladies are thinking, well, what should I buy? What should I be looking out for if I'm going to invest in one of these? Because then they're not that cheap, right?
No, they're normally about, like $500, like is what you want to be spending. I mean, if you're finding devices that are cheaper than that, then they're probably not going to be working very well. It all comes down to, I guess, the efficacy of a device. And when you're looking for a device, maybe I'll cover that bit first. When you're looking for a device, it comes back to what I was saying a little bit earlier about irradiance. So irradiance is a super important measure of the efficacy of a red light therapy device. Everyone in the industry will talk about irradiance. So we want to make sure that the power density is correct. So the higher the irradiance level is, and that can be proven, the less time you actually have to wear the device. So wear the red light face mask, because to get the same effects of a mask that has 50 milliwatts per centimeter squared versus 100, you'd have to wear the lower one for, say, 20 minutes and the higher irradiance for 10. So it all comes down to the amount of time you want to use it, and the more sort of strength and kind of results that you'll be getting. But you also got to look at things like the quality of the LEDs as well. You want to be looking at dual chip LEDs. So they're the ones that can be flicked between the two, between red and near infrared light, or you can have them both on together. Now, the reason you want that is if you have LEDs on a face mask that are, say, one's near infrared, one's red, one's near infrared, one's red, you're not going to get the same coverage when you have one on or the other one on. One will be near infrared here, one will be red here, and then, it's only going to target the cells at that specific place, because that's what it does. It targets the mitochondria in the cells in the actual place you're shining it on. So if you've got a bad knee, you're not going to put a red light face mask on. It's not going to do anything for you there. It has to be on a specific area. You also want to look at LED coverage on masks. So some will have only a small number of LEDs, others will have a lot of LEDs. The more LEDs you've got, the better, because you're getting a better coverage. You're targeting more areas of the face. Now, the way it works is, this is the thing with red light therapy. It's all very similar in how it works. It's all about what I kind of explained earlier, and then targeting precursor cells to form a certain hormone or a certain neurotransmitter or a certain thing like collagen in the skin. So it all comes down to the energy production. So like I said earlier, when you put the face mask on, the red light and the near infrared light will shine and activate more energy production in fibroblast mitochondria, which is the precursor for collagen, and then it will produce more collagen over time. Now, the reason you want red light on the face is because red light targets the skin, and that's the surface level stuff. So it'd be your wrinkles, your fine line, your crow's feet. Collagen causes like the face to drop. So, that will start to lift your face over time.
It's going to help with my jowls. Is that what you're telling me?
Oh, no, I was doing mine. Sorry. Yours
No, I'm talking about mine, not yours.
But it happens to us all, right? That's aging, right? That's the thing that happens here. And the reason you have near infrared light as well is because that targets the muscles in the face. So when you target the muscles, that causes them to relax. So if you think about your muscles that aren't relaxed, they're really sort of tight and, screwed up, and that's what then causes the fine lines and wrinkles over time. So when you're using near infrared light, it's going to relax your skin, so you're not all bunched up. So, it's almost like a natural muscle relaxant in a way that you can put on, non-invasive, no side effects. Now, we all know that this is something that people need to be concerned about, probably from the ages of 30 onwards, I would say, because studies have shown that collagen production decreases quite rapidly after the age of 30. We start to see it go off a cliff. Naturally, our body struggles to produce it. So this is this sort of non-invasive way of keeping that collagen production going. So, you could put a red light face mask on in your 50s, 40s, whatever it may be, and then start producing the levels of collagen you were 10 years ago. And the studies that are coming out are backing these claims as well, which is fantastic. We're seeing studies, and I can send these to you, it's no problem at all, that show that collagen production is increased in the skin when utilizing certain devices with red and near infrared light in. The signs of aging, fine lines and wrinkles are reducing in people that they're testing with these devices. So the studies are out there that support this. And red light therapy is a super cool frequency of light because it's the most studied. There's 4,000 plus peer-reviewed studies showing the benefits of red light therapy. And over 400 of those are what you call double-blind placebo trials, which are the gold standard of peer-reviewed studies that are supporting the benefits of red light therapy for a multitude of things that we can talk about later, but also for primarily collagen production in the skin and reducing the signs of aging.
And so it sounds like it has to be quite targeted in terms of if you've got a sore knee, then you're wanting something that's going to be targeted to that. For the wrinkles, have the face mask. A lot of people are using infrared saunas as an example. Do you get the same sort of benefit by sitting in an infrared sauna as opposed to something that's more targeted, where you've got a panel of red light that you're standing in front of, or the mask?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because this is one that causes a lot of confusion in the wellness community. Infrared saunas aren't red light therapy. Okay, now the confusion lies in two areas, right? In these infrared saunas, it's infrared light. So people think that infrared light is the same, and I'll explain why it isn't in a minute. But also, they typically put a red light bulb within these saunas as well, which makes it look like red light therapy, and it comes down to a radiance. It isn't a correct radiance. So you got three types of light, okay, that we're talking about here. So you've got the visible red light that we spoke about earlier. And just to recap, 630 to 660 nanometers and a specific irradiance over 35 milliwatts per centimeter squared. So not a red light bulb. These are medical grade lights that have biological impact on the body. You've got near infrared light. Near infrared light is invisible and penetrates the body into the muscles and bones and helps more energy production in those areas. So say joints and muscles, reduces inflammation, reduces pain, and helps healing in those areas. Then you've got far infrared light. So that's very different to near infrared light. So far infrared light penetrates the deepest into the body, like all the way in, like literally as deep as it can go. And far infrared light is what gives the sun its heat, its warmth. It's what's give a fire. It's what its warmth is. So infrared saunas utilize far infrared light for topical heating purposes. So it heats the body directly, so that the light is invisible. It passes into the body, it heats the body up, and it allows you to sweat, which helps you to release impurities, aid the body's natural detoxification process. It helps you increase your heart rate, that akin of exercise, so you can burn calories faster in them, lose water weight if you want to lose a couple of pounds, a couple of kilos very quickly. Helps release endorphins into the body, so you get that post sauna high. So you feel really great when that happens. And it also has been shown to help with declining all-cause mortality, which is unbelievable, and also with increasing variable heart rate as well at a resting level post the sauna. So it's very good, but it's not red light therapy. It's not at all. And the reason it's gaining popularity, far infrared sauna, is because traditional sauna, which is also good, like the Finnish, the Swedish saunas where they put the water on the coals, that heats the air around you. So it can get quite humid, it can get quite claustrophobic, your head can get really hot and all that kind of stuff. Whereas far infrared light heats the body directly, so you haven't got that humidity around you. So you can actually get the same benefits at a lower temperature or lower perceived temperature, because the air around you isn't as hot, it's heating up the body. So light is very magical in those ways. Everyone is a different frequency and impacts you in a different way. But just to recap, far infrared light found in box saunas and those sauna blankets people use is not red light therapy. Categorically is not. It's very, very different and very, very different wavelengths of light, and it does different things to the body.
Thanks for clarifying that, because I think it's important point for people to understand, because many people will go into an infrared sauna and think that they're stacking their hacks and that they are getting that red light therapy, and I'm in the sauna, I'm sweating out my toxins, I'm improving my mitochondria and so on. So it's good to clarify that for our listeners. Now, we know that not all light is good light. When we think about blue light, like we're sitting in front of a computer right now, it's not great for us. And a lot of biohackers are using red light as part of their protocol to improve their circadian rhythms. So explain how red light therapy works to help with that, and how the timing of using red light therapy can help improve your circadian rhythms and thereby improve sleep and melatonin levels as well.
Yeah, amazing. That's a really good question. And maybe I'll start with blue light and lead into why red light helps with it. So we've got circadian rhythms. Okay, these are like body clocks, people call them. And they're located directly in the suprachiasmatic nucleus, so the brain, in the center of the brain. And it's a little clock system. that we evolved with as humans over, hundreds of thousands, millions of years, however long we've been on the planet for. Now, they evolved to be able to tell our internal system what the external world is doing, okay, at a very simple level. So, for instance, it would be entrained by light in the morning. So the sun would rise, light would pass through our eyes, and it would then send a message to that clock system that it's morning. So we could release dopamine, serotonin super important, as we'll talk about in a bit, and also cortisol, which is fantastic for keeping us alert and awake during the day. And as the day went on and we lived outside all these hundreds of thousands of years ago, probably even thousands of years ago, we were outside a lot, and the sun would continually shine and change its spectrum throughout the day. And it would come through the eyes and it would keep telling our clock system, our circadian rhythm, what time of day it was. Then the sun set in the evening. That would send more messages to our circadian rhythm. It would say it's nighttime, time to drop cortisol down, time to increase melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. Then we would sit around a campfire and do whatever we did as cavemen. And then we'd go to bed and we would do exactly the same thing the next day. But we would live ultimately outside. Maybe we'd sleep in a cave, maybe we'd sleep on the fire, whatever with that. But what's happened recently, like in the last probably 30, 40 years, is we've decided to bring artificial light into our environment in the form of LEDs. Before that, we had incandescent. They were fine because they were very balanced in the spectrum, very similar to sunlight. They had blue, green, red, orange, all the different colors of lighting. But what we've done now is we've tried to be energy efficient as a world and bring in LEDs. Now, these LED lights contain very high frequencies of blue light and very low frequencies of red light. So they're very similar in terms of their composition to what sunlight would be around midday, around solar noon. So our body, our ancient clock system that's still in us from evolving millions of years ago, can't distinguish between the source of light, whether it be natural, whether it be artificial. So when we come home from work after dark, or, we're just sort of at a weekend and it gets dark and we're in our house, we turn on the house lights, we open our fridge door, we watch the TV, we scroll on our phones. What we're doing is the light then is passing through our eyes and telling our circadian rhythm that it's daytime, even though it's nighttime. So we get the same hormone release as we would have done during the day, which is high cortisol. And cortisol is a stress hormone. Okay. It's good during the day because it keeps us awake. But when it's then chronically high, even in the evenings, we start to get stress. We start to maybe feel anxious. We get worried. We start to feel tired in the mornings and then wired at night before bed, because our brain, our clock can't tell the difference between where this light is coming from. The way red light works is it doesn't necessarily improve the production of melatonin, which is our sleep hormone. It actually helps by reducing the blue light that's in your environment, helps balance that spectrum. So, for instance, the best setup you can have in the evening is you wear blue light blocking glasses. So they got like an orange lens, these glasses, so that when light is passing through your eyes, it's filtered. So the blue frequency is filtered out. So you're producing physiological darkness. The central clock system thinks it's nighttime when it should be nighttime, even though you've got the TV on. But a really interesting study came out in 2018 that showed that what we thought about circadian rhythms wasn't entirely 100% accurate. We thought through the studies and the academic literature that we only had one clock system, and that was in the brain, and it was only impacted through light shining through the eyes. So we thought, well, put blue light blocking glasses on, problem solved.
Yeah.
Actually, we've got clock systems in every single cell in our body. So if we're wearing blue light blocking glasses and we're watching the TV or got the house lights on after sunset, we can still disrupt our melatonin with blue light hitting our skin. So what we want to do is we want to create an environment in the evenings by having red light bulbs in our house, or amber light bulbs, ones that are very low or devoid of blue light. We want to be changing the light bulb in our fridge. So when we open it in the evening, it's not going to blast our skin and tell us that, it's daytime, keep cortisol levels high. We want to get black electrical tape and start taping over our appliances that have little LEDs on, because that's all tricking the body as well. They're horrible, especially when you try to sleep.
They stand out at night so badly. It's terrible. If you go in your hotel room, I've always got to have some stickers or something to cover it up.
Yeah, me and you both. I do that. Electrical tape is number one to be packed when I travel. Hotels are the worst.
Yeah.
So red light needs to replace blue light in the evenings. I always like to think back ancestrally, right? So what would our ancestors have done in the evening when we were hunter and gathering? They would have sat around a campfire. What frequencies of light does a campfire give out? Red, orange, and far infrared. Those are the types of frequencies you want to have in your environment in your evening. So have a far infrared sauna, maybe use a sauna blanket, maybe use red light therapy before you go to bed. That can really help as well. Maybe you want to change the bulbs in your house to circadian friendly, human centric lighting that is either full spectrum or devoid in blue light. And even better still, an hour before bed, start powering down your devices so you're not bombarding your body with blue light. I always segue off on things, but there was a really, really interesting study that came out several years ago that looked at, it was looking at our skin cells and how they repair. So it was looking at shining UV light onto skin cells in vitro. Okay, so this wasn't on humans. This was in little Petri dishes in the lab. They had human skin cells, and they shined UV light onto both of them, and they caused damage to the skin, because UV light causes damage to the skin if we have it in excess. Now, what they did was they then put one of the Petri dishes under blue light, and they saw that these cells weren't repairing. They were basically active and just continuing to be active, doing what skin cells do under blue light during the day. But they never went into recovery mode. Then they put the next set of skin cells that received the UV damage in complete darkness, and the skin cells started to repair themselves. So it's led to the authors looking at, well, is UV damage really the cause of any issues to humans? Which there's no denying the evidence is excess UV will cause damage to the skin. But we're then going home, turning on the TV after a day in the sun. Maybe we're on our phones, maybe we've got the house lights on, and these skin cells can't repair themselves naturally because they're in unnatural light. They shouldn't be in that kind of light. But if we're in complete darkness when we sleep, or we simulate darkness by having red light around us, those cells then get a chance to repair any of the damage that's been caused by UV light during the day. So that was a really interesting study that really sort of pricked my ears up into, are we unnecessarily blaming UV light for causing skin issues when it could actually be blue light and too much blue light and artificial blue light that we're receiving that's not allowing our body to do what it does, which is repair itself and then counteract the damage that's perhaps been caused during the day?
Yeah, it's a fascinating study and in terms of the results. And I think this is why it's so important for us to really be aware of what the latest research is going, because quite often, especially when we're looking at alternative therapies, there are misconceptions around what works and what doesn't work. And often it could be based on studies that have been done years and years and years ago. And I think of even recently, HRT is a classic example of how years and years and years ago, they used to think that HRT is not good for you. And now we know that estrogen is absolutely important for women and HRT is important. What are the other common misconceptions out there that you have heard around red light therapy? I was at a function recently where somebody said to me, red light therapy, does that really work? Is it just some red light bulbs that's, that people are whacking in something and that's it? What are the misconceptions that you heard?
Yeah, I think that all devices are created equal, and unfortunately there's a lot of companies out there, the majority of them that are just marketers, right? They see that there's a trend, they get some devices from China and they just sort of spout a load of random wild claims at things which haven't been substantiated. And they also talk about their devices helping with those, conditions, when number one, they haven't been tested or approved for those conditions. For instance, like our red light therapy panels, and I'm in no way advocating people go out and buy them because of this, just to do your research, but ours have been tested and registered with the TGA here in Australia as Class 2A medical devices for the treatment of joint and muscle pain. And that's how we market them. We don't say that they're going to, cause weight loss or help with eczema or psoriasis or any of the other things that studies have shown red light therapy can help with, but our devices aren't approved for that. So you've got to be careful when, you're looking at red light therapy devices and loads of people are making wild claims about them, because then they haven't been substantiated and verified by, the TGA and registered correctly. So that's very important. I think the other misconception is around irradiance. Again, like not all red light therapy devices are created equal. You could buy one from one company thinking you're getting the same as a top tier company because perhaps it's cheaper, but then you realize they're not using medical grade LEDs at the correct irradiance to actually do anything for you. Then you'll use red light therapy and be like, well, this isn't working for me. It's like a supplement. Say you take a dodgy supplement that you found, say a collagen supplement, and you've bought it from Amazon because it's $10 for 3 years supply. And then you go, oh, I've tried it and collagen doesn't work for me. But then you find out from the ingredients, it's like 1% collagen. Whereas if you had bought a supplement that's 100% collagen with, 100 5-star reviews for $300 for a month's supply, and then it works, then you're going to be a huge fan of collagen because it works. So you just got to be very careful when you're choosing your red light therapy devices, that you're going through your due diligence. And, by speaking on here, I'm hopefully giving people the tools to choose the correct red light therapy device. The other misconception is people want instant results. We live in this world of instant gratification and instant results. If people want stuff now, they want to be able to see the change right away. And some people can. Within a couple of weeks, you'll start to see amazing improvements to your skin, or maybe you use our red light panels and you start to see amazing pain relief in your joints and muscles. But what happens for some people is that can take up to 3 months of regular use. It's like starting a diet and doing it for a couple of weeks and going, this isn't working for me, I'm not losing weight. Whereas if someone had continued it on for 3 months and then judged it at the end of those 3 months, they'd be like, wow, this diet was amazing. I lost loads of weight, because they gave up too soon. I think the other misconception is people think that you can use red light therapy at any time of the day. And that's fine to do. There's no evidence to suggest they're wrong, but it's like what I was saying earlier. I like to look at things from an ancestral standpoint, even before studies have come out. And that's how I try and stay ahead of things. And I always like to caveat when there isn't a study that supports something and it's anecdotal, is I always look at when would our ancestors have seen this light? And red light therapy has near infrared light in it. And that's only present when the sun has risen and when it's set, and everything in between it, so during daylight hours. So would I use near infrared light in the morning before sunrise and after sunset? Probably not. And I typically don't. I typically only use the red frequency, because the red frequency would have been present in the form of campfire. So I like to just try and mimic how the cells and DNA in my body have evolved over those millions of years and been passed down to me. And some of it is backed by studies, and some of it is anecdotal, based on, well, every time there has been a study and light has been used in the wrong circumstance versus ancestrally, there's always been a detrimental impact.
No surprises there if it's used in the wrong way, right? Let's talk about safety, because that's a good segue, I think. There'll be people out there wanting to understand whether this is safe to use, particularly if you're using it for the long term. And also, is there any point where you can overdo or overuse red light therapy? And are there any side effects as well from it? Have you seen any research that shows that there's any side effects to that?
Yeah, it's good because it's the most studied. So we've got a lot of studies that talk about the safety of red light therapy. Now, I guess before I go into the sort of red light side of things, you always want to make sure that when you're buying a red light therapy device, that it's electrically safe. So Australia, luckily, has the most rigorous electrical safety laws in the world. So just ensure that they are Australian electrical safety approved. Most are, but a lot of them can be dodgy if you're buying them, especially from overseas. So just make sure that that's all fine. So you don't want to have a nasty shock or cause a fire or anything like that, because these are powerful devices. Now, when it comes to safety, there's not been a study I've read that show any adverse negative effects from using red light therapy. However, people always have to use it with caution. So before you utilize red light therapy, you want to do a light sensitivity test. So you just shine it on your forearm for a couple of minutes and then wait half an hour and see if you have a reaction. Because some people can be photosensitive and maybe come out in a rash, or maybe that something could happen that just doesn't really work with what they're doing supplement wise at the moment. So for instance, if someone's taking retinol, that's a big issue, and you don't want to be using red light therapy because retinol is a photosensitizing drug, which can exacerbate and really cause some complications when people use red light therapy. So you always, if you're taking photosensitizing medication like retinol, you want to either stop using that to use red light therapy.
What about the serum, Andy? If a lady's using serum at night time before they go to bed, and it's retinol in it, and they decide they're going to put the red light mask on before they go to bed, is that something they shouldn't do?
I think you should always seek medical advice with those types of things. But from my understanding is it's if it's on your body and then you utilize the red light therapy immediately after, that's when there's going to be potential issues. So if you've not got it on, like, this is why we always say that when you do red light therapy, you shouldn't have any skincare on. You want to do that afterwards. Right. So you don't want to be like doing your skincare or putting makeup on and then doing your red light therapy. You want to make sure your face is clear first. So remove any makeup, don't put on any creams, and then utilize it.
Because some women might think that, if I put the red light mask on after I put all of these serums, it might help it absorb more or stimulate it more. So just wanted to clarify that.
Exactly. And the thing is as well, it's all individual. So a lot of people might not even have an issue. But some people have done. We've seen it where they've used retinol and then used red light and then got a bit blotchy, and then it goes away because it's like just increasing blood flow in the areas that you're using it when you're using red light therapy. So you can be a bit flushed afterwards. But there's been no negative side effects, like in terms of, stuff that's going to cause damage or harm to people that we've seen in studies. And a lot of people talk about red light therapy for eyes. And we always advocate wearing goggles if you're using the big panel, because near infrared light may or may not be harmful. There's contradictory studies out there on that near infrared light is harmful to the eyes versus it's not harmful to the eyes. So there's the same. Yeah, kind of too. So you just got to be careful. I always like to err on the side of caution. I guess it's like looking at the sun, right? You wouldn't do that like in the middle of the day. That would be foolish. So maybe it's something to do with the near infrared light in the sun that's causing that kind of issue. So just wear the goggles. And the red light face mask is great because it comes with eye cups that pop out a little bit and protect the eyes, so you don't see the red light. You don't even know it's on when the red light face mask's on. It's just
so you can keep your eyes open then with that mask on.
And that's the good thing with the mask, right? Yeah. And we're all about simplifying wellness at Bond Charge. So we don't want to have people that are time poor, which we all are in this modern world, right? We're all really time poor, having to go, right, I've got to do 3 hours worth of wellness in between like cooking the dinner, looking after the kids, watching your shows, working. Like, where do you find this time? So the face mask is great. And you see it in the Bond Charge office all the time. Everyone's got their face mask on for like 20 minutes and they're working away on their work because you can still see it, still function. So, we have people that tag us in Instagram posts that are doing the cooking or watching TV or just simply scaring the kids because it's a scary sight when you've got a Hannibal Lecter-like face mask on.
So we've touched on safety and what are some of the do's and don'ts. Can you outline a simple protocol of how people should use red light therapy on any given day?
Yeah, I think you got to look at what you're looking to use red light therapy for to start with. So there's a few ways to use it, like skin level. So you just want to use it for beauty cosmetic purposes where you're wear a red light face mask, or you use a face roller, or you use a décollage mask as well, which is great because this is the first area that goes when we start to age. The collagen drops very quickly in there. Or maybe you're looking at your red light therapy for recovery. Maybe you're an athlete, maybe you're into sports, maybe you cycle a lot, and afterwards you just want to recover. So you've got to look at how you're going to use it first. So if you're using it for beauty, then you can use it really any time during the day or into the evening, depending on what frequencies you're using. I wouldn't use it 2 to 3 hours before bed. Maybe before that's fine, just because of the near infrared side of things. And you just put it on 10 minutes a day three to five times a week, and you can then cook, watch TV, walk around the house, do whatever you want to do. Even put it on in the morning in bed, whilst you're just sort of waking up and checking your emails or whatever it is you may do. If you're using red light therapy for joint and muscle recovery, then you've got to look at, well, have you got an ailment that you're using it for? Then you would just use it during the day whenever you want for 15, 20 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. You want to be about 3 inches away from the panel when doing it. You can also get handheld ones that you can put down and put over the joint as well, which is pretty cool. And also, like, if you're into like sport, so you're using it for recovery. So say you're a cyclist, or you've been swimming, or, running, walking, whatever it may be, you would just use it afterwards. So you might not be sore, but say you've been to the gym and you've been doing leg day, or you've been doing Pilates or whatever it is, you start to shine red light therapy on those parts afterwards for say 20, 30 minutes on the leg or areas that you've been working out, then you actually recover faster the next day. And studies have shown this. They've done the studies in athletes where recovery from delayed onset muscle soreness that was usually 48 hours in gym goers became 24 hours when utilizing red light therapy. So the science supports this. There was one amazing study that also looked at red light therapy for weight loss. Okay, so this is sort of a general topic of conversation. So they took 2 groups of people and they walked them on a treadmill on an incline for 20 minutes for 6 weeks. They did it once a day for 6 weeks. Group A then just sat down and relaxed afterwards for 20 minutes as soon as they'd done the walk. And the other group had red light therapy for 20 minutes every day after they'd done the 20-minute incline treadmill. What they found was, after the 6 weeks, the group that did the red light therapy after the treadmill lost 25% more weight than the group that didn't do the red light therapy. And that was one of those gold standard peer-reviewed studies that I was talking about earlier.
That's significant, right? That's a significant amount.
Hugely significant. Huge. It's massive. And because it's making them recover faster, it's producing more energy in the system to help with the breakdown of fat cells. Like, it's just magical. There's so many studies out there. And this is why when people say, does it work? Is it woo-woo or whatever? It's like, there is overwhelming evidence showing it can work for a multitude of metabolic conditions, as well as things like, beauty and weight loss as well. And it's out there. But the problem is, these studies are so hard to interpret and read that the normal person wouldn't go out and read PubMed and the Journal of Medicine and things like that and come up with their own solutions. And this then comes back to the whole skepticism that usually is brought out in marketing, because there's so many people saying, use this, and they're not putting the science or explaining the science behind it, which makes it confusing. And this is where we differ at Bond Charge, because we like to come on and speak on amazing podcasts like you've got, to be able to actually just start explaining it to people and saying, well, this is how it works. This is why it's working. These are the studies that are supporting those claims. And should you then want to try it, then go for it. These things have a 30-day guarantee anyway, so you might as well just try it and see what happens. But if you're still skeptical after that, then that's fine. You're a skeptical person. It's not for everyone. But, the evidence is clearly out there. It's not just something that's made up and said, oh, yeah, use this light will do well. The science is there. 4,000 plus peer-reviewed studies across a multitude of different conditions that are showing early signs and some definitive evidence that this type of therapy really does work for a whole host of issues.
And you touched on earlier in our chat about how we have significantly changed our lifestyles in terms of our exposure to light. We are often indoors a lot more than what we ever have been. We're not exposing ourselves to sunlight the way we used to. So I think that red light therapy really has a strong, significant place in people's daily health routine moving forward because of that fact. And when you think about other locations, I think in some of the northern countries where, they have these long, dark winters and never get to see the sun. Well, I would definitely be wanting to use red light therapy if I was living somewhere like Finland, as an example. Where do you see red light therapy research moving in, and going next in coming into the future? Do you think that as a result of all of these studies, and as you said, gold standard studies, do you think we're going to start to see red light therapy moving into hospice care as an example, into hospitals as well. Obviously it's being used for athletes, but where do you see it moving?
Yeah, absolutely. I can already tell you it's going to be moving into hospitals because we're receiving daily inquiries about it, which is so good to get those inquiries. We're just sort of navigating how and if that can be done in the bounds of regulatory frameworks. But, there's already practitioners out there that are wanting to do this. It's huge in the UK. We're seeing a lot of practitioners in the UK reach out to us that want it in hospitals and want to use it in specific wards. Dr. Mark Hyman actually used our panels for some of his recent back surgery recovery. And he was fascinated by how quickly he recovered with that involved, which is amazing. But I think that it's going to become more and more mainstream. It's definitely trending. The US and UK are leading the way. I think Australia lags a little bit behind, but I'm seeing more and more people, take an interest in it. I think it's just become has been a lot more difficult to bring these types of products to Australia because of the regulatory frameworks that are in place. But we've done that correctly and had ours over 2 years tested and approved for registration as actual medical devices in Australia, which is really what we wanted to do things correctly, to then be able to talk about it correctly and sort of ease the Australian market into red light therapy. And I think we're going to see more and more products come out over the years. We're developing quite a few and innovating quite a few that haven't ever been produced before. As studies come out supporting certain claims that red light can help with, we're trying to bring and invent products that can support those situations that people have as well. So I think, we're going to see more and more of it into mainstream. I think in the next 10 years, we're going to see it in hospital wards all around the world. I really do. And, I'm not saying that these are treatments that will replace any of the amazing medicine that's out there right now and what hospitals are doing, but they will be used in tandem and as a complementary product to help, the efficacy of what our, amazing healthcare system is doing.
How cool would that be? And in terms of applications, you showed me the other week that really it's like a wand almost that you're showing me that you could use under your eyes. I mean, I've never seen red light therapy in that sort of an application before, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a cool one, that. It's really good. It's actually one that the Kardashians actually, believe it or not, got hold of from us and started saying how amazing it was. They were starting to use it and absolutely loved it. So that was fascinating. It's always good when someone like that picks it up, because then it can start to bring some much needed attention and education around red light therapy. But that's a really cool one because that sculpts, contours, lifts, depuffs. It's great. My wife uses it every morning, like around the under eyes, and she's looking great using that. So yeah, it's ultra targeted. So this is sort of what I was relaying to earlier, right? We want to simplify wellness. We want to make things easy so people don't have to do multiple wellness practices. And what I like about the wand is it's got microcurrents in there as well, which helps stimulate the blood flow and, helps with that overall aesthetic appearance. The red lights in there, the near infrared lights in there. So the sonic vibrations are also in there. So, it's all about stacking for us lots of different technologies into one device that then helps the individual get multiple wellness and biohacking sessions in just one device. And the wand is fascinating and super popular.
Well, I think I'm going to have to get my hands on one because I wake up with puffy eyes all the time. It sounds like it's a perfect one for me. Now, before I let you go, I would like to ask you a question that I ask all my guests. What does living well longer mean for you?
Yeah, I think living well longer for me means doing it, but enjoying doing it, right? Nothing should be a chore for people. Like if you want to live well longer and be healthy into old age, you've got to commit to it. You can't just go, right, I'm going to drink 2 liters of water a day and watch the sunrise. It's not going to be enough. You've got to look at all the pillars of well-being and health, and really follow them all. And, I'm not advocating for someone to do this 100%, because we all like a glass of wine or a glass of champagne on occasion. We like to go out and have a burger here and there. Like, that's fine. That's okay to do. But, 80-90% of your time, you've got to be looking at the pillars of health. Like, is your water good quality? Is it mineralized and free of fluoride and chlorine and all that garbage? Are you managing and mitigating electromagnetic field radiation? Are you turning your Wi-Fi off when you sleep? Are you making sure that you're using wired headphones and not Bluetooth? Things like that. Community. Are you surrounding yourself with a community of like-minded people that can support and bring fulfillment and joy to your life? Is the food you're eating pesticide free and, whole in its origin, unprocessed? And, are you managing light correctly and ancestrally? And there's so many other different pillars, like cold therapy. Like, are you doing the extreme of heat and cold, which is great for longevity. So I think it's like, it's not just one thing. I always hate dogmatic zealots that talk about eat well, only an animal-based diet or a vegan diet, and, sod everything else, you'll be fine. It's like, no, there's so many different pillars, and light is just one of them. And we've really got to just be mindful that it's not all about physical wellness, it's mental wellness as sure. well. So we've got to really bear that in mind. Spirituality and connection needs to be there too. So for me, it's those combinations, and also not being too hard on ourselves when we do slip up. We're humans. We're going to have a pizza every now and again. We're going to have a few wines and get tipsy. It is what it is. Life's there to be enjoyed, but we just need to do it mindfully, both spiritually and sort of biologically.
Great advice. I completely agree with you. I think that ensuring that we are educated and aware of what the choices we make can have an impact on our health, and then we can make those informed choices, and stacking those hacks as well, I think is a great way to manage our health. So it's not just one modality or one particular hack. So look, thank you so much for sharing your insights today. It's been really, really interesting and really great to do a deep dive into red light therapy. And I'm sure that my listeners will really take a lot away from today's conversation. So thanks again, Andy.
Thank you so much for having me. I've really enjoyed it. And, if we help just one person on this show, which I'm hoping it'll be more, then, job done. The conversation was perfect.
Definitely. Thank you. Well, that's a wrap for today's podcast. Thank you for tuning in. And if you'd like to learn more about biohacking, go ahead and sign up on my website at www.biohack-her.com to get a free copy of my 5 top biohacks to get you kick-started. While you're there, you can also check out my blog page for more tips on biohacking. If you'd like to subscribe to this podcast, you can do so on Apple, Spotify, and Google Play. Let us know if there's anyone you'd like us to talk to in particular, and we'll endeavour to get them on the podcast. Until next time, remember to live well longer.